It may be useful to employ a delaying tactic, such as a hoax bomb or booby trap, which, apart from having obvious military advantages, also allows for time to lapse during which forensic evidence may be dispersed or destroyed. The manual also specifically addressed the kinds of incriminating evidence the IRA guerrilla must avoid during an operation. The guerrillas should be aware that their hair, or wigs used for disguises, collects traces of explosive and chemical residue. Also, hair products like gels and sprays can be collected from hair and then matched with the actual hair products kept at their homes. Additionally, the manual covered in detail the problem created by firing a weapon and the resulting gunshot residue. When a weapon is fired, the shooter is covered in an invisible cloud of residue, consisting mainly of lead, antimony, and barium, which may deposit itself on the firer's clothing, hair, hands, face, and even in their nasal passages. The manual suggests the firer wear protective outer garments, including a mask that is washed as soon as the operation is over. All clothes used during the operation should be washed immediately. It is now standard practice for the RUC, when searching a house for trace evidence, to take the filters from washing machines or wastewater from pipes in order to analyze them for fibers, residues, etc. Always wash clothes by hand and dispose of the water into an outside drain, back garden, or yard. Clothes are a subject of concern for the IRA guerrilla, not just because of gunshot residue, but as a forensic link. Fibers are the major forensic danger. They are links in a chain and can cross-transfer in a number of ways. For example, if a fiber from an Oglox volunteer sleeve could be found on a glove, and a fiber from the glove found on a weapon, a link between weapon and volunteer could be established. As we go about our daily business, we are constantly shedding and picking up fibers of no significance. If we make such contacts as Republican activists while engaged on active service, we should understand a very basic, crucial lesson, applicable to the forensic threat in general. Every contact leaves a trace, and therefore also a potential link. The IRA guerrilla is advised to wear clothes that do not easily provide this kind of incriminating trace fiber. For example, clothes made of wool, which shed fibers everywhere, should never be worn. Nylon and denim clothing are the safest to wear since they shed such few fibers. Washed blue denim jeans are the clothing of choice because they are made from a fiber that is so common that it is microscopically indistinguishable from all other denim. It is of no use to the forensic scientist. When using masks, there are procedures to be followed. We do suggest, however, that the Olays use ladies' nylon stockings as masks. If the Olay is not fully happy with this disguise, another mask can be worn over the top of the nylon stocking. The stocking would be a forensic barrier. Nylons can be easily burnt, destroying any possible trace evidence. This should be done after every operation. DNA is another area of concern for the IRA guerrilla. Taking suitable material for DNA testing from a captured Olay is no simple task. Under their law, they only have the power to carry out non-intimate searches on any suspect. Even doctors cannot carry out blood tests. The only so-called non-intimate search they can do is the mouth swab, which is, however, disputed among scientists as to the reliability of the tests, but if an Olay has been wounded, they will take his or her clothing or bandages and use them to make a forensic link. As the reader can see, preventing or eliminating every one of the potential incriminating links is difficult, to say the least. The greater the government's forensic ability, the more counter-forensic hurdles the guerrilla sniper has to jump. With an effective forensic effort, security forces anticipate the urban guerrilla sniper will eventually slip up in one area or more, even if the sniper is aware of potentially incriminating evidence. While the IRA took its counter-forensic effort seriously, even their manual was not thorough enough to protect the guerrilla sniper from eventual forensic compromise. The guerrilla sniper has far more to be concerned with if they are to remain anonymous. Forensic ballistics, investigating the scene of a shooting. Security forces involved in fighting an organized guerrilla movement must have the ability to conduct multiple effective crime scene investigations simultaneously. This is a particular problem for conventional military forces with no training in this area. However, this is no excuse, as basic skills such as protecting a crime scene, preserving, identifying, collecting, and logging evidence, and interviewing witnesses can be readily learned. Most security forces think they do not need these skills, which is the most serious problem. One must understand in a guerrilla war, soldiers are not only soldiers, they are also policemen, investigators, detectives, researchers, students, and historians all rolled into one. Analyzing recovered bullets. If basic crime scene investigation is easy to learn, where do we start? Let us begin with the one piece of incriminating evidence that remains after every single shooting in the world, the bullet. When a person is shot somewhere in their body, the bullet itself remains as a link to the shooter. Or if the bullet misses its mark and lodges in something else, like a door frame, this incriminating link can be recovered and analyzed. The bullet is important because it speaks volumes about the shooter. Even capsule observation by the naked eye will reveal the caliber of the bullet. The .556 bullet is quickly distinguished from the .762 bullet, just as a 9mm slug is readily discerned from a .45 caliber. A quick study of the retrieved bullet will determine the caliber of the weapon, what kind of weapon fired the bullet, rifle or pistol, which together can lead to the origin of the rifle, such as Soviet, American, or German. Casual study of the bullet offers some conclusions, but closer investigation reveals even more. When a bullet is fired from a rifle barrel, it no longer looks pristine as when it comes fresh out of the box. In contrast, the grooves from the barrel's rifling are forced into the sides of the bullet, leaving impressions visible to the human eye. While the human eye is not capable of detecting the unique characteristics left by the rifling, a microscope is. Rifling marks are important because they can be matched to a specific weapon, as every weapon leaves its own unique impressions on each and every bullet. For example, two separate Russian-made SVD sniper rifles each leave their own unique rifling impressions on their respective bullets, despite the rifles being mass-produced copies of the same original design. In this case, the rifling impressions left on a bullet are the weapon's fingerprint, as unique as the ridges found on a person's own hand. Because the rifling impressions on each bullet are unique, a bullet can be matched to the exact weapon that fired it. All an investigator has to do is compare a bullet recovered from the scene of a shooting with a comparison bullet fired from the suspected weapon to positively confirm or deny if the weapon fired the bullet. Most likely, the bullets the battlefield detective encounters will be similar because of the Hague Convention of 1899, which determined what type of bullets the world's militaries use today. To quote, "The contracting parties agree to abstain from the use of bullets which expand or flatten easily in the human body, such as bullets with a hard envelope which does not entirely cover the core or is pierced with incisions." That one sentence guided the evolution of military bullet production ever since. As a direct result of this agreement, the most commonly fired bullets in a war zone are fully metal jacket, FMJ, rifle rounds. NATO countries like the United States, Germany, and Britain all fire .556mm and .762mm FMJ rounds from their battle rifles. Former Soviet bloc countries like Russia, Poland, and Romania fire 5.45mm and 7.62mm FMJ rounds from their battle rifles. Since the US and NATO and Soviet Union and Warsaw Pact superpowers ruled the Cold War for more than 4 decades, the majority of the weapons in the world from Middle East to Southeast Asia fire 5.45/5.556, that should be 5.56mm, and 7.62mm FMJ rounds. What does this mean to us? When one examines a wound and the corresponding bullet, we know what kind of bullet we are likely to find. Importantly, these FMJ bullets exhibit similar characteristics. All FMJ rounds are of durable construction and designed to penetrate their targets while traveling at high velocities. Consequently, the bullet itself deforms little when hitting bone and flesh because the bullet's copper jacketing is designed to maintain the integrity of the bullet even when impacting something hard. When we find a sniper's FMJ bullet lodged in a victim, the chances are the bullet will still be intact, allowing us to analyze and match the rifling on the bullet with the gun that fired it. On the other hand, because these FMJ rounds travel at such high velocities, they often leave through-and-through wounds of the body, meaning the bullet goes into and out of the person's body. With these types of wounds, the incriminating bullet is lost somewhere in the surrounding terrain. Even with a through-and-through wound, FMJ bullets exhibit certain wound characteristics. For example, high-velocity FMJ rifle rounds often cause large temporary wound cavities, injure surrounding organs and tissue due to bullet shockwaves, and leave smaller permanent wound cavities. The Russian 5.54mm and the American 5.56mm rounds have a tendency to yaw upon hitting the human body, causing the rounds to tumble and create much larger wounds than if they continued straight ahead. Ironically, the signatories of the Hague Convention intended FMJ bullets to be a more humane way of killing and wounding each other. I'm not sure what the several million people who have since been shot and killed by these bullets would think of such an assertion. From a forensics perspective, an FMJ bullet is more likely to retain its integrity, allowing for successful analysis and matching to the weapon that fired it. The disadvantage of the FMJ bullet is it tends to travel completely through the human body, so an investigator may have a gunshot wound victim with no bullet to analyze.